See, this one's for anybody who grew up in any major cities, in London or around the world in general, any popular countries. I noticed certain people will look at us a certain type of way, they have a certain perspective about us. I noticed that. A lot of people are vocal about it, a lot of people are not. But you just got to remember, that when you're leaving your area where you grew up in, when you leave the ends, when you finally leave the ends, just make sure you're not taking that same energy with you when you move. A lot of times problems be following us. We get into situations out of town. Some of us even get into countries. Some of us even get into madnesses out of the country. And the reason why that is because we had a certain mentality. We had a certain defensive mentality when we was living in the ends. We don't need that when we go out of town, bro. We don't, fam. You know what I mean? Like, humble yourself. You got to check yourself type stuff. Because in general, give example, someone could be looking at you, right? But usually you're on your P's and Q's when you're in the ends. But then when you go out of town, someone could be looking at you, but they could just be looking at you because they like your crep or they like your jacket or something. You know what I'm saying? But you're already on defensive. You're already on defensive mode. So you're already about to check them and come to find out this. But no one ain't really on what you're on. Nobody ain't on what people was on in your ends when you left. You feel what I'm saying? So in general, go there with a new perspective, bro. Like, travel, you know what I mean? I want to say be open-minded to a certain degree, but at the same time, don't be too closed off, bro. You know what I mean? Don't be too defensive. Sometimes we got to calm down, we got to check ourselves, because don't get it twisted. Nobody can check you. Nobody can check me. So naturally, we got to make sure we're checking ourselves, though. That's one thing, you know what I'm saying? God can check, man. You know what I mean? Naturally, life will humble you in general. So, you always got to make sure you're being observant. You always got to make sure you're being coherent, and just make sure you're being attentive, bro, to what's going on around you, bro. And just make sure that you're you know what I mean? Obviously, of course, you got to make sure that you're on your P's and Q's at all times. Don't get it twisted. I'm definitely going to do that. But just make sure that you're free yourself, bro, from all that palaver, bro, in your brain, fam. You feel what I'm saying? Because naturally, bro, like, we've been through a lot of things, but a lot of times you don't want to wear that, bro. You know what I mean? You don't want to wear that. You don't want to walk around like a hurt person, fam. You want to kind of fix yourself to a certain degree, bro, and kind of heal up in a way to a certain degree, and just make sure that, bro, things have happened, bro, in the past. You know what I'm saying? Naturally, but when we're moving forward, we gotta make sure that we're being open-minded to a certain degree, fam. Our mind's open, our eyes open, our ears open, and our mouth is closed to a certain degree. Do more listening than you do speaking, bro. You feel what I'm saying? I'll take that for free, fam. I'm a grown man, so naturally, man's gone for a lot. I can tell you stories on stories on stories, and hella different situations, negative and positive. You know what I'm saying? This is me looking in hindsight now and say, alright, cool, boom. Maybe if I changed my certain mindset, maybe if I hushed a bit, maybe if I opened my ears a bit, maybe if I was a bit more, inclusive and a bit more respectful and less defensive, bro, then a lot of situations probably would have been avoided. I can genuinely say that. You feel what I'm saying? And if I can't say that, then who can? You know what I mean? Literally, I'm not waiting for no one to come and evaluate me too. Sometimes you got to evaluate yourself. You know what I mean? So yeah, man, that's just it's life in general, bro. As we grow, you know what I mean. They say that people change every 7 years or something like that. Anyway, you know what I mean? But and for sure, I feel that's real. I feel like you really start to really analyze yourself to a certain degree and really look at your traits and your pros and your cons. You should not by now. You should know your pros and your cons. You should know what you're good at, what you're not the best at. You know what I mean? And work on the things that you're not the best at to a certain degree. And if it's really not your strong suit, then work on it or learn to live with it. But you also gotta make sure you're checking yourself at all times, bro. You feel what I'm saying? Make sure you're humbling yourself to a certain degree. Not humble yourself as in being subservient or being nervous of people or whatever. You know what I mean? Be confident, of course. That's I wear that. I'm naturally just gonna be a confident person anyway. But you still, I've got to make sure that I'm also showing that I'm human too, and also being a person, always being a student. Never thinking you know it all. You know what I mean? Never think you know it all. Even a person younger than you can tell you something. People that has less than you can tell you something. You know what I'm saying? Literally, you haven't lived everybody's life. You haven't walked everybody's shoes. You haven't lived every experience. Some people have been through some things that you haven't been through, and they can kind of give you some knowledge in that and help you avoid certain situations that you would have got yourself into. You know what I mean? If they didn't give you that knowledge. So yeah, man, always be a student. And just know to humble yourself, man. Check yourself sometimes, bro. You know what I'm saying? Do you a lot of justice.